Welcome back to Straight Facts on Friday, the last Straight Facts before the Euros begin. So very, everyone worried then. Oh, no, not the last one ever, just before the Euros begins, which is in a few hours' time. We've got man like Staffy, we've got Lawless on the show today, and there is so much to delve into. Ten Hag stays, centre-backs on the way in, £50 million being invested into Carrington. We're looking at Arsenal striker pursuit, Chelsea going all out to get Olise. And of course, we're going to be talking about the Euros, getting the boys' predictions on what's going on. Any questions, any subjects you want us to speak about, we'll try to get round to as many as we can. Super chats get the priority. Member chats as well, because they really physically, tangibly keep the terrace going. But all hit the like button, please. Make sure you are subscribing as well. Gentlemen, you both well? You both good?
Yeah, listen, I'm good, man. Apart from a little cold, I'm good because I've been looking forward to this all week, man.
Staffy, you're right. Why have you been looking forward to? Why have you been looking forward to it all week, Lawless? Tell us.
Do you know why? Let me peel back the curtain a little bit for the people in the chat. Right, we're in a group chat, and after last week's show, Staffy likes to he decides to share a link to a story that Man United are interested in Tuchel and likes to tell me to hold that, right, because of this story linking with Tuchel. Just a few days later, it comes out that Ten Hag is staying at Manchester United. I just want to say, Staffy, you can hold that, my friend. You went too early. I told you, man. You don't go too early. Can't wait.
You're a snake, first of all. Don't expose my group message, a group chat ever like that again. You absolute snake. Let me tell you guys what actually happened. We finished the episode last week, and Mr. Dan Lawless was trying to convince us here that there's no way United are linked with anyone else. But what's his name? Southgate. And that's all I did. When I said hold that, I'm just telling him that there is a possibility.
I never said that you
United get another manager. Basically last episode we were talking about it. What if he's the only option? I just wanted to show there's more options. That's all, Lawless. That is
clearly Tuchel wasn't an option, was he?
Clearly he was an option that didn't work. So technically I wasn't wrong. Am I gonna hold that?
I said that have you not considered that maybe Tuchel and De Zerbi aren't an option for the system, won't want to fit into that system? Doesn't mean that maybe they haven't approached them and gone, look, this is what we're trying to do with our director of football. We're looking for a coach. Maybe they had that conversation and Tuchel was like, no, I want control. And they went, okay, then you're not for us. That's what I was trying to say. And obviously, Ten Hag.
I feel like something along those lines, something along that lining has happened here in terms of, I think we spoke to some people that we weren't that interested in, but it was part of the sort of interview process, as it were. But I think overarching, we didn't come. I think we've just looked at it, and a bit. I think like there's bits of both you said that ended up being right. Thankfully, we didn't get Southgate, but I think they have reviewed this. There's certain United fans that are like, this is just like the Glazers. We're a finished club keeping this manager. I think everybody is overreacting. There is something going on at the club which we haven't done since Fergie was appointed in 1984. There's a genuine rebuild, and and when I say that, please don't think I mean the buzz version of the rebuild, like Liverpool fans saying we're in a rebuild now, Klopp's gone. No, that's a buzzword and a shield to protect you from criticism if you don't challenge for the Premier League next season. We're literally in a rebuild. £50 million today was announced to be reinvested into the redevelopment of Carrington. And you know what's really crazy about that? I've seen certain Man United fans go, see, this is still us being cheap. Leicester spent £80 million on their new complex. Yes, their new complex. That included buying the land. That included building it from scratch. Man United own the land already. They have the site. They're just regenerating what they've already got. Typically speaking, that isn't as expensive as buying the land or buying additional land to expand it. Like United
was used with Kante and Mahrez money as well. That was player sales.
Yeah, it was. But at the same time, that was a brand new complex. But Man United don't need a brand new complex. We need to rejuvenate Carrington because it's already a good complex. It's just got out of date technology, etc. So £50 million is more than enough. So I'm one of these people. I said all along I'd be objective about this. I'm not jumping for joy. Ten Hag stays. but I do trust the decision making at the club. A lot of people are acting as though we're penny pinching. There was some stupid story that said we just didn't offer the new managers enough money, which is crazy. So we've said no to, say, De Zerbi because we didn't want to pay him what Ten Hag's earning, just for us to have to keep Ten Hag and pay the same money. There's a lot of stories out there trying to make Man United's process.
You don't pay the money for sacking him, so it could actually be true. I don't know why you would dismiss that.
What do you mean?
So when you talk about penny pinching, okay, I understand that Ten Hag is on more money than they could have just say, let's use the Zerb as an example, that they offered him. Them keeping Ten Hag is still a cheaper option because you don't have to pay him the money that he would get if he gets sacked.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that. He's got 1 year left on there, so it's a cheaper option because he isn't leaving. But I think we did the right thing. I don't call it penny pinching, and I'm going to be fair and consistent. We have been laughed at. Our own fans have condemned us. For every manager and the majority of players that have come in, we always say we pay too much. Why is he on that much straight away? Shouldn't he have to earn or build up to that level? Why should... No, I don't think any manager coming into Man United right now should be one of the best paid managers in the league just because we're Man United. You're not coming in to make us win the Premier League today. You're coming in to start a rebuild. That's a different type of job. If you're replacing Jurgen Klopp, who are in title races, one of the best teams in England, it's a different conversation. So for me, what I'm seeing, and I'm not saying people are all talking out of different sides of their mouths because I don't know everybody's view on every single facet of Man United, but I've seen some kicking off that we're penny pinching. They're the same people that moan that we overpay players, we overpay for transfers, we overpay our managers. And now that we're trying to be a bit more frugal, which is important because other clubs do it, they're also kicking off and being angry. And for me, what I'm enjoying is that generally speaking, doesn't mean I like every decision made. We are behaving completely differently to how we have done before under Ed Woodward and co. The length of time of the review, speaking to managers, what we're offering people in salaries, all of these things are the changes we need. And when you couple it alongside the investment into the training ground, as an example, the project around building either regenerating or building a new stadium on the same site of 85 to 90 million capacity stadium, this is just different for me. And that's why, even if things happen that I'm not overjoyed about in the short term, I'm in this in terms of this rebuild for the medium to long term, and I'm behind these owners. And I'm not going to, like I said, I understand the criticism people will give, and I understand it. I'm just not going to show my arse on it because I think we're all being a little bit like Jim from American Pie, a little bit premature with some of the reactions I've seen online.
Yeah, but some people are deflated, Terry, and you got to understand it. We're going to rebuild with the guy who messed up the first build. We're not even rebuilding with a new guy. So technically, Ten Hag is rebuilding what the mess that he made in the first 2 years. This is why some people like me just couldn't be bothered about it. Like, I didn't want to see him rebuild. I was willing to give someone else time and patience. I just didn't want to give it to him. And I understand everything you're explaining a lot around it, the logistics of everything. But my feeling remains the same.
So I understand that, but I think everybody put in far too much stock at this particular juncture in Man United's time on who is our head coach. Because the way we've operated before is that the manager comes in and builds the club in his image. That's happened to every manager before Fergie and every manager since Fergie up until now. What we are now doing with Ten Hag is saying, no, you're going to coach the club in our image. So even if he fails, the one thing we're not going to have to do again is start again. So let's say 6 months in he goes. Let's say in the summer we go, do you know what? We improve slightly, but not enough, and he goes. We are just going to be adding a manager to continue off with what we have started this summer. And I think that element is missing. If we haven't found a manager that we genuinely believe is exponentially better, I also understand not hiring him and going through the process of sacking Ten Hag. That for me is, again, the proof is going to be in the pudding. They obviously felt the same. And you look at De Zerbi, I wanted him. I'm going to be objective here. The only club that's offered him anything he's happy with is Marseille. There's something in that. There's something in the fact that he's available. I rate him. So I have to hold my hands up and go, okay, well, I rate him. I like him subjectively. But objectively, only Marseille are willing to give him a job. Clubs that have got managers already aren't going, you know what? I think we've got to get rid of our guy and bring him in because this guy's a genius and he's available. Nobody's gone in for him. And now he's about to commit somewhere else. And listen, Marseille, historically, they've won Champions Leagues. They're a big club in France. But it's an interesting sort of sidewards stroke backwards step in terms of the Brighton are not a bigger club than Marseille, but because of the league they're in, it's a much higher profile job potentially in terms of the eyes that are on it. So from my point of view, like I say, I understand why Man United fans might be deflated by one decision, but some of the reactions I've seen online, I think are absolutely performative, deliberately over the top. And I don't believe people are that angry. If they are that angry, it's because they haven't studied the club. They don't understand what this rebuild's about. And they don't actually understand what it takes to get a club back to the top. And people say, but Ten Hag ain't the guy for the job. If he isn't, then they'll bring somebody else in. But the most important thing that we do is get the structure sorted first. I'm more focused on that than the manager stroke head coach to begin with, because until there's a foundation, the manager's almost an irrelevant job, in my humble opinion, in comparison to getting this structure sorted. And no other candidate that we interviewed was good enough. And by the way, most rivals told us that, Staffy. Most managers we interviewed, forget our own subjective feelings, the collective view from football was, he ain't good enough, he ain't good enough, he ain't good enough, that guy's not good enough. That's a joke, that one. So it's not as though we had 2 or 3 candidates where rivals and Man United fans were like, oh my God, if Man United get him, Jesus, they're going to be good. We weren't linked to anybody like that. So I think we need to be objective in this process. And I do get what you're saying, but we'll see what happens anyway. As you say, I know you said beforehand, you're kind of over it now. This here from Patrick says, just curious, every replacement option has had as tumultuous, season and didn't reach the expectations they felt they should. Much like Ten Hag, why not give Ten Hag the chance you'd have to give the next manager?
Why should I give Ten Hag a chance when he's proven to fail in the past 2 years?
Because it's a different structure. So he's working in a whole different environment where, again, he's not going to be signing players. So maybe see how he does under this new project, this new structure. Give him a chance in this new light.
Why would I give him a chance when I didn't rate him for the stuff that he doesn't do well on the pitch anyways? I just don't understand it. I feel like when people ask me, why do you not want Ten Hag? What did I do in this whole past season on the terrace? Why was I making appearances on the terrace? If you want me to explain everything that I was saying at time, I was here pretty much after almost every game. Explained everything in terms of tactics, in terms of man management, in terms of his interviews, his press conferences, the way he fallouts with players, the way he makes subs, the way he man manages, the way he game manages, everything. Like, why are we ignoring everything that he does poorly on the pitch and just say, oh, well, now that they're recruiting better players for him, he's going to be able to do better? I've seen him actually play bad with players that he rates, players he recruited, and players that some of us rate. So I don't get why this is just being dismissed.
So I think I agree with you 100% on that. That element shouldn't be dismissed, and there should be pressure upon him next season. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. What I would throw into the mix, though, and I'm only using this through my own experience in life, he is going to have a far greater reduced job and responsibilities next year. That does help you focus the mind on fixing things. He's already been told, we saw it towards the end of the season, that there has to be fundamental changes to the way we play. And me and you both said, the way we sort of adapted from the Arsenal game onward, if we'd have done that 6 months earlier and the team would have got used to it, Man United could have been a much better team last year. And I think that direction is key, because Ten Hag at Ajax with a solid structure, with clear instruction of this is how you've got to coach, operate, and perform, delivered a lot better. Now, I'm not convinced. Where I do agree with you, Staffy, I'm not convinced. He's going to turn it around and make us win the league title. I'm not sitting here believing that. But I think short term, if you don't have a better option, I think there's one. If you don't have a better option coming in, I'm going to trust the Ashworth and Barada's decision making on this. In the same way that you said the other week, I doubt there's the Southgate thing. There's no way Barada looks at that guy and thinks that's the best I can find.
I take that back now. I definitely take that back now.
Well, but you do, because you're being subjective about it. And if you open up your mind,
not even being subjective now with the new evidence and with everything coming out, I have to look at it two ways. It's either we're just broken, we couldn't get rid of him, or they actually want Southgate.
I believe it's subjectivity, because you're looking at one decision you don't like that's going to change your
No,
entire opinion.
that's not
on
why I'm
someone.
saying that. No. Hold on.
You just said.
So with the new reports, no, I said with the new evidence. So the new
What new
evidence. Okay. Yeah. So after what was it? Was it yesterday? The article that came out in the Athletic, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Anyways,
Saying what?
so basically explaining all these meetings that what's it called? Sir Jim, Ineos, however you want to refer to them, had with some of these managers. They've actually had meetings with the likes of what's his name, Tuchel in Monaco as an example. Was it Monaco? Tuchel with Monaco as an example. Speaking to De Zerbi, speaking to Thomas Frank, even speaking with Poch. There was one part of the article, I forgot. I think they were talking to Thomas Frank on a Thursday, on the same day that Ten Hag came out and he's talking about the new plans for the next season. The proof is there that they were talking to new managers.
Yes.
Why they didn't get a new manager is down to two things. They either didn't have the money, as one of the reports said, that you said earlier, it's stupid, so I don't know if that was fake or not. Or secondly, I feel like they maybe met with all these people and they were like, you know what? Let's just wait for Southgate. Because he's the only one that wasn't on that report. And he's the only one that we've been linked with for a while that wasn't mentioned between all these managers. And he's the only one that actually has a job.
This is what I mean by subjectivity. So you've said it's one of two options, but there's a third option. Could this not logically be one that they interviewed these managers and did not find a suitable replacement?
No, because I'll tell you why. They wanted to get rid of him in May.
Right.
After we lost 4 to Palace, it was there that they said they considered removing him. So getting rid of him was a consider option for them. They did what we said all season, that they're just going to ride out the season because there's no point of sacking him now because they think the season's done. Obviously, we won the FA Cup, and that gave us a little bit of a boost for a week. But it was there. They've had discussions over getting rid of him, and they've had discussions on who to replace him with. So this idea of they just wanted to back Ten Hag go into next season is not true, or else they would have never had these meetings with all these people and never considered sacking him.
So I look at it this way. I don't agree with what you've just said. I don't think the briefings at no point ever said that he was 100% going to be sacked. His job was definitely under threat. The reason his job was under threat, and I don't know how long you've been in the corporate environment, and at some point in your corporate life, you will go through this, Staffy, where your job or people's around you's jobs get made redundant. And then the person being made redundant gets two choices sometimes. Sometimes what you get is you're being made redundant, the job's going, the department's going. Other times you have to re-interview for your job because your job role's changing. And Ten Hag's job, the manager of Man United, essentially doesn't exist anymore. They're going for a head coach. So they have interviewed multiple people to see whether in the current marketplace, do we have somebody better than Ten Hag? And I don't think this is as conspiratorial or as shady as people are trying to make it be. I don't believe they're looking at Ten Hag and this is the man. Publicly, they'll say this, but don't take what they say publicly too seriously. I don't think they look at him and go, this guy, 100%, he's our guy. We backed him from the start. They're not saying that. They're saying right now, we believe this is the best option for us. I don't believe they're just waiting. The whole waiting for Southgate thing, in 2.5 weeks, we're probably going to be out of this tournament anyway. For the sake of 2.5 weeks, I think we could have waited instead of more upheaval in 3 months if he gets sacked. As I say, there are definitely things I'm not happy with, and I'm not disagreeing with you on them. But I think there's too many Man United fans, I'm being honest, that have been overly emotional and they're throwing baby out with the bathwater far too early. And they're not considering the situation of what's going on here. This is a proper rebuild. This isn't a buzzword rebuild. This isn't a partial rebuild of a midfield. This is the entire club, top to bottom, physically and metaphorically being ripped out and rebuilt. We are not going to have everything we want. Like any Man United fan that was deluding themselves thinking we're going to be a great footballing team in the next year, brilliant and consistent, it's going to take time. And it's going to take time to rip everything out and fix things. And I just think we've got to wake up and smell the coffee when it comes to this, irrespective of who the manager is. You know, people say, oh, well, look at how good Palace are playing. Palace are going to have peaks and troughs. We see it. Look how good Spurs looked when Ange Postecoglou first came in. First thing everybody said after like 5-6 games, see, that's how quickly you can install a system. By the end of the season, there were Spurs fans asking for him to be sacked. You have, people will say I'm sitting on the fence. I'm not. I'm not sitting on the fence in any capacity. On my overarching point, which is let's get behind this rebuild and let's give it some time. We don't need to show our asses. We don't need to put additional pressure on our club when we haven't even seen a ball get kicked yet. I think we have to slow down slightly. But I understand your frustrations. I'm just saying overall. Deals that we're linked to. Branthwaite, Staffy, talk to me about it, bro.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw, I just dropped in the private chat because Simon Jones just dropped it a few minutes ago that we made a bid for around 45 million.
Oh, nice.
That is likely to get rejected, which I believe so because his evaluation is at what 70 to 80 million, and we're pretty much going for like a little bit over 50% of their evaluation. So yeah, we'll most likely get rejected. But that's fine. And I mean, a lot of people always say, why don't you just pay the money? And that's not how football works. You don't just go and just pay the asking price right away. You have to make 2-3 bids, try to get the price down a little bit. That's just how negotiations in life works, not just in football. But yeah, in terms of Branthwaite, the player, I've personally did a show yesterday on my channel, was talking about it. And I will admit that someone educated me on something that I didn't know, which that he used to play as a right center back at his time in PSV. And he's actually right-footed as well as he's left-footed. So he's one of these ambidextrous players. So he actually could play on both sides. I didn't like this signing for a couple reasons, mainly it being a left-footed center back when we need a right-footed center back. But if I stand corrected on that, that changes everything because the type of profile that he is, he kind of fits what we need. And we do need a physical, especially tall center back to pair Martinez to make up for Martinez's deficiencies, which is being a short player. That's why his partnership with Varane was decent. Not to mention that he's very good on the ball, all that stuff. I do have some worries about his physicality still because he's a little bit young. His frame and his body has not built yet into like a proper Premier League center back. I've seen him get roughed off the ball a few times last season. I don't think he's worth 70 million. He's the type of player if you could get him, that was my opinion. As I said, if you could get him for a cheap price and develop him for the next season or two to be ready to be starting in the Premier League, that would be the perfect scenario. He reminds me a lot of the John Stones signing when he went to City. He wasn't ready right away when he went to City. I don't know if you guys remember. He used to get bullied a lot on the pitch, and people used to say, "What the hell was that sound?" Because they paid 50 million for him at the time, Stones, and 50 million about 6-7 years ago, I think it was. That was a lot of money for a center half.
Yeah, and that signing of it's interesting with City when it comes to people talking about the spending. City got a lot of their current stars in an era where the 50 to 60 million was the gigantic amount of money to play for players, and then it sort of a year or two later it shut up to more 70s and 80s as an example. So no, I agree. Sorry, Staffy, back to you, mate.
No, you're good. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of that. I don't like the fee at all. We're also linked with Leny Yoro, who's going to be significantly cheaper. And to be fair, he's rated much higher by the scouts, the way that they're looking at him, at what he could be in the next decade or so. So he's being looked at as a much higher prospect. He's going to probably cost half the price because he only has 1 year left. And he's valued something around 40 million. So listen, both are good links. If we get Branthwaite, I'm okay with it. I just don't like the price at all. I think if we spend a big chunk of our budget on a center half who I don't think is ready to lead any back line for a top 6 team going into next season, it would be a worry to me because I know we need like a couple center backs at least to come in. We need at least 2. And if we spend that much on one, that would worry me because I don't know what is the quality of the second one that we would get.
That's where I completely agree with you. I love the link to both players. I've watched Branthwaite play more. What I've read about Leny is levels ridiculous. I mean, in France, you can go back as far as 18 months ago, people talking about him tipped to be better than Saliba and the like. You watch him play, his ability on the ball is absolutely amazing. I'd love them both. When it comes to the Branthwaite deal, I'm kind of happy with the reported £150,000 a week maximum salary that he's going to be paid. He's definitely coming in to be a regular starter, in my personal opinion. I think he's coming in to be one of the main players, and you've got to represent that. But when we've done those kind of deals in years gone by, we're throwing £250,000 a week at these individuals. But where I agree completely with you, and this is another one of the areas where I will look at Ineos, how much do we get him for? Everton's initial asking price was 80 million. We've gone in, according to this story, with 45 million. We sort of walk away getting him for 50 to 55. then again, you're looking at Ineos and saying, well done. You've taken anywhere between sort of 15 to 25 million pound off of the initial asking price. And all of that is key. And I know a lot of football fans get kind of bored with finance, and the finances are important, because if you overspend on players, you run out of fucking money. It's as simple as that. And then you don't fill all your holes. So what do you think, Lawler, about the links to the likes of Branthwaite? Last night, the reports were that personal terms were agreed with his representation. Today, reportedly, the first bid has gone in.
Do you know, I think if you can get it for the right price, it's a good signing. I think it is a good signing. But yeah, I think £150,000 a week is probably still a little bit too much for a 21-year-old coming in. I take what you're saying is if he is coming in to be the first choice Man United centre back, but I just feel like there's a little bit of a risk to bringing him in, and like you're the guy now, you're first choice, rather than deputising and trying to grow into the role. But I think Everton don't have a strong negotiating hand at the moment with all of the FFP and PSR issues they're going through. I think they're one of the clubs that have to sell players before the 30th of June. People was laughing because I said 31st last week, but 30th of June. There's only 30. This is the month my birthday's in, and I don't know how many days are in it.
Is it another leap year?
Yeah, it must be, isn't it?
It is a leap year this year. I know it's only February. The reason I always remember what year a leap year is because a leap year is always the same year as the Olympics.
Right. Okay. I didn't know that.
Just random facts for you.
But yeah, so if they're in a situation now where like they've got to sell players by like in 2 weeks' time, the clock's ticking. So I think Man United can afford to play a little bit of hardball with them. You know what I mean? Not cave in so easily. Okay, if you're rejecting 45, yeah, maybe go up to 55. But be ready to walk away, because 80 million is obscene. It's absolutely obscene for a player like Branthwaite, I think. So yeah, you shouldn't be paying anywhere near that. So yeah, I would just sit, just sit there and say, look, this is it. Take it or leave it. Maybe drag it out a little bit if you can, so they're getting closer to the wire, and then they have to just take that offer. Otherwise, they're in trouble and get docked more points. But yeah, these clubs that are in that situation, I think we're seeing it now with the Douglas Luiz sale to Juventus for like 20 million plus some bag average players. So if Juventus can get Douglas Luiz for that deal, surely Man United can get some.
If we end up getting him in, if we're getting him for anything that starts with a 4, it'd be a tremendous bit of business. And I think for the first deal the club gets done under Ineos, it would be a really good benchmark, I think, to take nearly 40 million pound off an asking price would be amazing, because again, Woodward and Co, we'd be paying 85. They'd start off with him saying we'll pay you 80 million. We'd sign him on the second to last day from the deadline for 85 million. That's literally how we operated for 10 years, and it's that type of thing.
Villa are in the Champions League, right? Villa at Everton, just about to survive relegation. So their position is a lot weaker. So for Villa to lose a player potentially like Luiz for so cheap, and you look at someone like Everton, they should not be getting anywhere near the asking price if you're negotiating right. And I think if you are paying 70 million onwards, I think that's a bad look, a bad bit of business.
I hear that. Obviously, when it comes to Leny, though, do you think we'll get him, Staffy? I know that Real Madrid are looking at him, Liverpool in for him. How do you feel about that one?
He wants to go to Madrid, but I think Madrid had pulled out of the deal for now for whatever reason. I forgot what it was. I was reading about that yesterday. So Madrid are actually holding back on that now, which, I mean, it would make sense for United to try to take opportunity of this and try to get the deal done before Madrid are back in for him. And yes, Liverpool also want him, but I don't think he would go to Liverpool. I don't think Liverpool need another 18-year-old defender anyways, because they got Quansah, and obviously they got Van Dijk and Konate. They will probably be looking for more center backs, but I don't think this is the right move for him. Obviously, he would go to Madrid because Madrid is the best team in the world, and he probably already wants to go to Madrid. But if he would come to the Premier League between us and Liverpool, I don't know why he would go to Liverpool. He'd get much more playing time here. So hopefully we capitalize on that and we try to secure it, because signings like these don't come out. It just reminds me a lot of the Quansah's 21. apologies on that. But young defender, you know what I mean. But it reminds me a lot of when we went for Varane when he was like 19 or whatever, and we didn't get the deal done, and he ended up going to Madrid at that time. So I don't want to miss out again. It took us about 10 years to finally sign Varane after he went to Madrid. So I don't want to sign Yoro when he's 29 and Madrid get rid of him. But I would hope that we go for it, especially that's a cheap deal. He only has 1 year left. He's on pennies, by the way. I don't know if you guys know. He makes like $6,000 a week. He's literally on pennies. So
pennies for footballers, definitely. Yeah,
I mean, I would love $6,000 a week. That's not a bad income, but we'll take $6,000 a week. But for footballers, I should say that's a very cheap deal to get done and to get him out of. And also reminds me of that Camavinga deal. That's why Camavinga went a couple years ago for 30 mil. Also another player that we wanted, and also went to Madrid. So for once, just for once, I wanna get one of these young, up and coming French prospects that Madrid come in for, and we finally get a deal done.
Would it make you trust Ineos more?
Ineos are on trial for me right now. That's all it is. Like it would be. I seen a lot of people say Ineos out, and it just made me laugh because we're probably never gonna see ownership outside of Ineos anyways, because if anything, Ineos will eventually become majority owners.
Yeah.
So there's no point of saying it.
Ineos are here for the time, and this is actually here is to you, Staffy, from V33. So Staffy, you really think Sir Jim is senile enough to have made his billions by making choices like waiting for Southgate? Please don't be a Gal 2.0.
V33, let me educate you, because clearly you're uneducated on the matter. First of all, there's a reason why we've had links with Southgate for a hot minute right now, and there's no smoke without a fire. Secondly, we are trying to get who? Dan Ashworth. Who gave Southgate the England job? Does anyone know? Dan Ashworth.
Dan Ashworth, yeah.
So he actually rates him. And Southgate is about to be out of a job because he said if he doesn't win anything with England, he will be leaving. I'll tell you this for free. He won't be winning anything for England. So, yes, they're trying to hire the guy that hired Southgate. I don't know why this is not a topic to be having.
I don't think my theory last week was too crazy, Staffy. Now, in hindsight, with Ten Hag staying about Southgate being a red herring, you know what I mean, to put out into the.
I actually believe it now more. That's what I said. Now I actually see it more.
So a lot of story again. It's always interesting what people believe, and it's because we're human beings. We're biased by nature at times. There's some reports, United didn't have the money for a new manager. That must be true. The same reports, though, also state that Southgate was never even a serious contender, and it's, we interviewed Marco Silva and nobody knew about that as an example. So you've got to take some of it with a pinch of salt. McLovin here, love that film, but they can never make a movie like Superbad ever again. Terry, if Ineos want to take the approach of focusing on everything off the field and limit the power of the manager, why didn't they just hire a good coach? It's a really good question, and one day we may find the answer out, but they have to think it's not just about being a good coach. The same as if I'm looking to employ someone to come and work for me and I need them to host shows, be able to edit, and maybe be able to write articles. Let's just say that's the three key components of this employee I want. Just because they're amazing at those three skills doesn't mean they deserve to get the job. I have to look at their potential behavior. I have to look at their personality. I have to look at their work ethic. I have to look at their sort of attendance records at works. And you can't always find this information out. But you talk to somebody. Is that relationship going to work out? So Ineos may be in the situation. And I'll give you an example with KJ. KJ, like I rely on KJ. KJ gets you that time off and everything else. But if I need KJ and it's an obscene time, KJ is willing to do it. The contract states I can ask him to work at any time, but I need someone who's willing to do it and going to do it with 100% commitment. So someone like KJ would be employed by me. If you're like, no, do you know what, Terry? I'm not going to work after 5. In the YouTube world where you cover football, not wanting to work after 5 p.m. is a big problem because most games are after 5 p.m. and or at weekends. So you need someone who's willing to work in anti-social times. So when it comes to Man United, we bring it back to our club. You may sit there with someone and go, wow, he can make us play amazing football. But maybe his view on the policies you're bringing in are going to be like water and oil together. Therefore, you don't employ them. I'm not stating that is the reason. I'm just looking at it through this lens of it could be multiple things. It could be some of the negative stuff that's out there. I'm not saying it won't be. But I find it really interesting that people are ignoring the positive reasons why we didn't change manager and just focusing on the negative ones. And I think that's to do with I wonder if we had a completely new ownership, completely new, from a different part of the world, maybe, would the reaction be the same? Probably not. Chelsea fans complain about Poch's tactics, team selection, etc. on the terrace. Tuchel made terrible subs in the Champions League. Roberto De Zerbi struggled with injuries. All very viable candidates with similar issues to Ten Hag, but they deserved backing more.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. Staffy, you got no thoughts on that? I was waiting for you, my friend.
I don't understand what that question means. They
Well,
deserve
they're basically pointing out all of the flaws, similar like you've pointed out with Ten Hag, is that a lot of the flaws that we've seen with these other managers that have been fans seem to have wanted at Man United.
Well, Tuchel has won trophies in the Champions League very recently, so let's not compare him to this manager. And then you got Roberto De Zerbi with a lesser squad playing better football, and he's had injuries, and no one gave him that excuse. By the way, I didn't even want De Zerbi like that. And Terry knows that. But these are all managers better than him, so I don't understand what he says when he says deserve more backing. These guys did not fail at a job at Man United, anyways. This manager so far has failed, in my opinion.
Yeah,
got us finishing eighth.
What that question is saying, though, and I think it's hard to answer it subjectively. It's an objective question, and that is, I feel that Tuchel's fouled. I feel that Roberto De Zerbi fouled, and if I feel they've fouled in their last jobs, why should I want them to replace a guy that, even if he thinks Ten Hag's fouled, it's he's just replacing a face. It's what's the expression? You're jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire potentially. So I do get that train of thought.
When Klopp got the Liverpool job, he almost got Dortmund relegated.
Mm-hmm.
They still took him at Liverpool. I don't understand what this logic means. Like, this is why there's certain conversations that I can't have, but it's just no disrespect to that super chat, but it's too stupid for me to answer.
I don't think it is stupid, Staffy. I understand, but it isn't incredibly stupid. Your point about Jurgen Klopp is absolutely right. But the problem is, football isn't polarized. Football isn't hyperbolic in that way. It just because Tuchel had a really poor, by his standards, last season at Dortmund and killed it at Liverpool, it doesn't mean another manager that is perceived to have fouled in this particular season would go and do what Klopp did at Man United if he got hired. Like, it's not stupid to not believe that.
But I don't get the comparison. Like, I'm really just trying to understand it here. Ten Hag has failed more than these two managers. Because I don't think we can even say De Zerbi failed, because De Zerbi did good for what he's given. So I don't know what is the measurement of success when you talk about Brighton. But when you talk about Tuchel as an example, okay, he didn't win anything this year, but he's won stuff in the past. And actually, Bayern tried to keep him at the end, and he refused to stay. So it's like, I don't understand what is the comparison. Ten Hag is not better than these managers. He's really not. Just for the simple fact of what he does on the pitch. At the end of the day, we all have eyes, and we all watch throughout the season. Ten Hag played horrible football for 2 years. Last year, especially, more than the first year. I understand we can try to deflect and cover over the paper over the cracks with an FA Cup. But let's be honest, we all thought we'd lose that game because of how bad we've been. It was a complete anomaly of a game that no one thought we'd win. And throughout the whole season, he's failed us so many objectives, developing a style of play, making our attack worse, scoring only 58 goals, conceding more goals than the season before, making some of the players on the pitch worse. We don't rate anyone in this team this season, bar maybe, I don't know, Dalot and Bruno towards the end of the season. Everyone else, we said they could significantly regressed. Why are we doing this revisionism at the end of the season?
But I don't think it's. I understand some of your points. Like I said earlier, I don't think it's revisionism about Ten Hag. The point that's being made, and I think it holds water, which is why you remember me saying, no matter who we bring in, whether I like them or not, I was going to remain objective in terms of my reaction to it. Is there are some people that view those other managers, because this is all subjectivity, that view those other managers to be some to be worse, some as bad as Ten Hag. And their point is, this is the problem when you view it from a subjective point of view and it's based on your feelings, is that theoretically everybody's right. If you think those managers are not as good as Ten Hag and the options are not as good as him, then of course you're going to be relatively supportive of him staying. My view is a little bit different. It's just I'm backing the football decision makers to get us back into the right position over the next 3 to 5 years. I'm not going to kind of micro assess every single decision that they do in that process, because I think we've got to give them some time to cook. But look, I do get your point. This is a Staffy. Will you break your girlfriend?
Break up, I think.
Break up with your girlfriend. I don't think he means break. If her food was terrible for 1 week straight, or would you give her fresher veggies and better equipment to cook?
Marcy, it sounds like you have a cooking issue. So I would suggest hiring a cook, not having a girlfriend. But thank you, Marcy, for the super chat. Great super chat.
So what would you do? But what would you do?
First of all, I cook myself. That's number one. Secondly, I would hire. I would hire.
Question. Indulge in the question,
bro. I would hire a cook, bro. This guy's talking about a girlfriend being a cook. What do you mean, give her fresher veggies, bro? I'll go hire a cook. Don't worry about it.
Really? Okay. Yeah, you got that money. Yeah, you got that money. Get to hire a cook.
That's what it sounds like. Bro said, "Would you break up with your girlfriend because you didn't give her fresher veggies?" I've never, bro. Come on, bro. Can we do better here?
The point is, but maybe the ingredients. If you try and improve the ingredients, maybe the food improves. I think that's
because
the point,
I saw the cooking. I saw the cooking skills were shit.
I hear you, Terry, but Ten Hag doesn't fit the culture and image Ineos want to build, which is why they are telling Ten Hag to play possession style. But see, again, this is how I view it differently to you. This is what I've been asking for. When Ten Hag says, I'm not playing the Ajax way because this is Man United and they do it differently, if I was his boss at that point, I'd have been dragging him into a room saying, no, I've hired you to fucking play that way, you moron. You do it. Even without the, and me and Staffy agree on this, even if you don't have the squad to make it work to its nth degree, that's how you play. That's why you've been hired. You don't hire an amazing meat and steak chef. He's the best in the world at cooking steak, but put him on the pastry table. You make him cook the steaks because that is what he's there for. So for me, that's where this is where it's like I defend Ten Hag slightly, but I look more at the structure. He should never have been given the power. He should never have been given the choice to not play the way in which we all saw him play at Ajax. That's the bit that's crazy for me. I should never have been, because I wouldn't do it. You know, Staffy's an amazing editor and that is what he's great at, but he's awful at hosting shows. You're not. This is hypothetical. If I hired you at the Football Terrace, I wouldn't have you hosting shows and not fucking editing. You'd be editing the videos and you wouldn't be hosting shows. It's just basic business for me, but maybe that's just
horrible at everything, bro.
Yeah, well, he's not horrible at winning FA Cup finals though, and League Cup finals.
Yeah.
He's good at that. He's good at that.
About cup finals.
Moving on from Man United, because we've only got like 45 minutes left, and we've got quite a few subjects to get in. Arsenal have stated that they may not now try and sign a number 9. So no Gyökeres, no Isak. Obviously, Šeško's going to stay. Dan, do you think that's a mistake from Arsenal? A lot of reports today coming out. One from Charles Watts, I believe, that says the number 9 may not be a position they go after now.
Well, look, I understand is that the fact that they did score a lot of goals last season by committee and all of that, and you can look objectively and say that's not maybe the most pressing need, but the fact that they've gone from the past few, this January and this window, really looking for a number 9, really looking for a striker, and to just pivot like that, they obviously saw a need. And I guess now they've decided they've not got the funds or not willing to spend the sort of money they're gonna need to spend to get in a top quality striker. I mean, they were linked with Solanke last week, and you look at it and think, okay, look, for the right price, I'm not saying he's this game changer, but I think Solanke in that Arsenal team, I think that's a good option. But to outright say, do you know what? No Tony, no Solanke, not even like that. That's interesting to me. But if they can go in now and address maybe left back situation, get Zinchenko out of there, and maybe like a left winger, and maybe get another midfielder in, then that could be enough to get them over the line. But it's just that weird pivot of, okay, this is what we want, this is our main focus, and now we're not interested in signing that anymore. That's the interesting part for me.
What about yourself, Steph?
What, with the idea of them not going for a striker this summer? Yeah, I think I said it. Was it last episode? I think I said I don't think they need a striker as much as a lot of people are saying that they do. I look at their team last year, 91 goals. Nah, you score enough goals, and you score a lot of goals from your midfield. You scored a lot of goals from your back line. and obviously your front line actually could have done better, but you still scored 91 goals with some of your players in your front line not firing as much. So I don't think they need to go and splash that amount of money on a striker. Ideally, it would be nice if you have the money and you could pull off the deal and you go get yourself an Isak or whatever. Yeah, but I don't think they need it, bro. I think they need to strengthen their midfield. And I think maybe, add a little bit more additions to your back line. You know, because you have players
They
like
had a lot
Elias
of
that's always
set
injury
piece
prone.
goals, though. Would you rely on set pieces? Do you want to continue to rely on set pieces? Do you think that's sustainable?
I mean, it's a part of the game. Why can't you rely on it?
It's a part of the game, but I don't think it's something that you can. I mean, and me as a team, obviously, we're not as good as Arsenal. We haven't been as good as Arsenal are now, but you know what I mean. We've seen it where we've been the top set piece scorers in the league, and next season that can go. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't think you see a lot of teams go season on season on season being top set piece scorers, you know, and getting most of their goals from set pieces. I think there will be a drop off. I don't think we can expect Arsenal each season to be able to have all these different departments from their defense and their midfield, and I think it is ideal if you can have someone in there that is going to be pulling most of the weight and everyone chips in, because I do think those different departments, I think, will have a drop off when it comes to goals. You know, I mean, not in terms of everything else that they do, and that's why I think that
Okay, well, you can. I think they need to strengthen their front line, but not necessarily the striker. Because I said last week, if they can go and get a left wing, I think that would be a good addition. Havertz, listen, he kicked off late in the season, and it only makes you think, what would have happened if they played him in striker in the beginning of the season? Because a lot of parts of the beginning of the season, he played in the midfield. That's what I'm saying. Actually, go strengthen the midfield, because now you know Havertz, who, let's just pretend, I'm not sure if this was how he wanted to do it, but if Arteta really thought he was an 8 to play there last season, and he finally thought, okay, now he's actually better in the 9, and we've been scoring more goals with him in the 9, and he's actually been getting more GA than while playing in the 9. So let's see how much GA will get in a whole season playing in the 9 versus just playing the end of the season. And go get someone instead of Martinelli, or to compete with Martinelli, because Martinelli's, I'm not gonna lie, he hasn't been good enough last season. Ideally, you would get a winger that can play on both sides. So when Saka needs a rest or Saka's not performing, you can actually shift that player to the right and have someone else on the left, either a Martinelli or a Trossard or whatever, and go strengthen the midfield. I think the midfield is going to be an issue. If Partey leaves, that's the issue. Are they going to rely on Rice being the lone 6? Because he's performed well as an 8. I don't think he's a good lone 6, especially for the way that Arsenal play, because his progressive passing is not that good. So you probably got to want to go and get someone who has more legs and a little bit younger than a Jorginho, with a little bit more of the physical aspects that they're going to lose when they lose Partey. I think that should be what they should be addressing. To me, these are the biggest areas of the pitch, you know. And as I said, a little bit maybe in the back line, because they do have injury-prone players in the back line. Zinchenko they want to sell because he's not good enough. Who's your left back now? Because Tomiyasu is always injured. You know, is Kivior good enough to be starting? I think they actually need to strengthen there a little bit more. Getting another striker is ideally nice, especially if Jesus leaves. But you don't need another striker when you scored 91 goals in the season. You did not lose the Champions League to Bayern because you were missing chances. You lost in the Champions League to Bayern because you were not able to create chances. And you can actually dissect that game in a different way. And obviously that would need a whole different show to talk about, because they were not good enough across the two legs. But they were not wasteful because they had a wasteful 9. Yes, there's sometimes you want a 9 who's good enough to get you a goal when the game is close and it's a deadlock game. But I've seen Havertz give him last-minute goals. I've seen Rice give him last-minute goals. I've seen everyone chip in with last-minute goals. Remember the Luton win when Rice scored in the stoppage time. They've had a few wins like that, and you saw, okay, they have enough characters where when they need someone to step up, someone across the pitch can step up. So I don't look at that team and I'm like, yo, they're a lethal 9 away from winning trophies. No, I think they need a little bit more around the pitch to win trophies. But a lethal 9 that's going to cost them over 100 million, I think you can get an Isak and still lose the league. I genuinely believe it. I genuinely believe they can go get a great striker and still lose the league because they didn't strengthen the other areas. A left wing and a midfielder is the priorities for me. I'm not gonna lie.
They could strengthen all those other areas and still lose the league, though. They can lose the league.
No, of course.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, just breaking news. Sorry to interject. David Ornstein has just tweeted, Man United have made an opening offer to sign Branthwaite from Everton. The bid for the centre back is 35 million, deemed unacceptable and set to be rejected in due course. Everton believe the 22-year-old would require a much higher fee. So the first bid, and listen, again, people will say it's because you're broke. No, it's because we're not trying to overfuck. This is, for me, again, it's all about, look, there's definitely.
I'm not gonna lie, we're broke, Terry. I'm not gonna lie, we're broke.
But I don't get what you mean by that.
Terry, we're broke, Terry. When you look at the way we approached the Varane contract, and now listen, not that I disagree with all of them. Hear me out. The Varane contract, even the Menu. I'm glad that we didn't give Menu all that money as well. We put him on less money, and then the rumors about managers being baffled with the wages they're getting offered. And now this, I just said, by the way, before you say anything, I said you are meant to low bid at first until you actually reach an agreement with the seller somewhere down the middle. But I actually do think we're broke. Okay. It's looking more likely that we're broke.
I understand that. I don't think we're broke. Okay. And the reason why I say that is, of course, the managers were shocked at what they were offered. Because in the last 10 years, every single time they've gone to a manager or to a new player, Man United offer ridiculous wages. So I have a feeling those managers turned up with their rep scan. We're going to crack open the red panties, baby. We're going to get offered that 300K a week to be the Man United manager. We're going to get all the control. And they've turned up and been told, yeah, it's £125,000 starting, no control. And they've gone, that's not what I expected. I don't think that's because we're broke. This is where I defend Man United to my core. We have been criticized, and people like Maradon the Moron and co. in the comments have criticized us, ripped into us for overpaying for every facet of the game for a decade. Now we're being more frugal. Now we're being more disciplined with our money, and that means we're broke. Come on now. Like, that's just, for me, that's looking for a negative in a situation.
But Terry, wasn't part of that report that Ten Hag was staying, and I'm sure I saw that they told him that he wasn't getting a big transfer budget this window.
But the media have said 5 years running we've not got a big transfer budget, and we've on average spent what, 200 million? I just, for me, I don't believe it personally. I don't believe again. And when people say we're broke, someone's got to quantify that. So if you think we're broke, Staffy, what are we going to spend this summer in transfers?
I don't know. There was inside rules that we have a very low.
But my point is, if someone thinks we're broke, if you think we're broke, what are we going to spend? 80 million in total? 90 million in total?
I don't know, Terry, because it depends on the sales.
If you think we're broke, you must have an idea of how much you think we can spend.
Terry. We could be broke until we make certain sales. There is, my light just went off for whatever reason. See,
every club has electricity before sales, though.
No, hear me out. I know what you're trying to say here. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the budget before we make any sales is rumored to be very low. Okay, so when you make sales, if Ineos are waiting on to make some sales, Sancho's an example, Greenwood is an example, Casemiro maybe, to actually have a budget, then to eventually spend, that's different. But as it is rumored right now that we do have a low budget, it could be anything. The rumor is it's under 100 million, and I don't dispute that.
Sales.
But the rumor the other day that I read is that we have 50 million to spend. Well, we've just put a 35 million pound. We just put a 35 million pound bid in for Branthwaite. So maybe that's true because we only put 35 million pound in for him. For me, for a Man United fan, you want to read that we've got no money. You want clubs thinking we've got no money, but I don't believe it in reality. Since I think it was 2014 when that idiot Woodward said we can do things in the transfer market nobody else can. Ever since that point, we have been overcharged and underpaid, overcharged for signings and underpaid for people we're selling. And we have to get rid of that. This idea we're broke, that if you actually look at some players that have left in the last year, right? And the wages are a bigger commitment to the club and cost more than the transfer fees do. The money we're saving. And when man like Casemiro goes, and he will go this summer, that's another 350,000. You've got 50 million on its way very soon for Mason Greenwood. We're going to get around 40 million for Sancho. Plus he's £300,000 a week back. This idea that we haven't got any money.
Honestly, you're getting 50 mil for Greenwood?
It's already rumored to be around like 40 million.
Around 50 as a obligation to buy. Which again means if it's an obligation to buy, you can then spend that money because they're clubs, when they owe you money, they're in the financial world, they're seen as what they call secured creditors. So you could then go either borrow the money or you can owe it to a club, and you know you've got this guaranteed income coming in. So
Fair play.
I do get your point. We're going to have to sell some players to buy, but that's why when Liverpool try and make, we have to sell to buy. Everybody has to sell to buy. Man United's problem is we've been so bad at selling in the last decade, we're cutting those off. So, yeah.
It's true. A lot of clubs do that these days, plead poverty just so they don't get, overcharged. As soon as you start throwing your weight around, we got this money, like I said, they'll go, right,
I'm not trying to call Staffy out. People say we're broke and go, how much do you think we'll spend then? And they don't want to put a number on it.
I don't know, Terry, because I don't know how good our sales are going to be. How good have been our sales in the last few years? I don't know. I still think, this is why I keep saying this, I still think we kept Ten Hag because of financial reasons. That gives me an idea that we didn't have enough to pay him off. So I think we're broke.
If we go and spend £200 million on players this summer, would you then say that no, we definitely weren't broke? Like, what would change your mind about being broke? What would have to happen to change your mind?
Well, of course, if we go and spend and we see all this, I'm like, all right, so maybe the reason that I thought we didn't sack Ten Hag, which is financially, was wrong overall. But right now, this is the theory that I believe in.
Why would they interview other managers or coaches, Staffy, if they felt like we can't afford to sack Ten Hag because of finances? Like, why would they spend all this time talking to all these other managers if they knew they weren't going to have the
they can't sack him. Yeah.
It's a good point. I don't know, because it could depend on the financials that they offered these other managers as well. So maybe these other managers demanded more and they thought that would be cheaper to keep Ten Hag. I already said this in the beginning of the show. Keeping Ten Hag could be cheaper than hiring another manager, because if they said we'll sack him for like 9 million, because I think that's how much he still owed, we'll sack him for 9 million, but we're gonna offer them lower contracts, like we did with Varane, he rejected, like we did with Menu, like we're trying to gonna do. This is the new wage structure that would go for. And these managers were like, wait, this is not what we heard about United in the last how many years? They usually offer more, so I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to take this job because the wages are significantly lower than I expected. So they looked at it. You're like, you know what? These managers want a lot more than what we're going to pay for Ten Hag. And we're not even that convinced on them. So let's keep Ten Hag for now because it's cheaper.
But again, I think you're focusing on the money being the driving force. I make them right.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say to you. I think that's
positive. But that's a positive. I want my owners to go, do you know what? I don't see much difference between Ten Hag and the people we've interviewed. If we go for one of the new people, it's going to cost us 10 million, 15 million pound more, and I don't believe the results will be much better. So let's go for the cheaper option and put that money into the players. That, for me, is something Man United fans should celebrate. That isn't something to be negative about.
No, but that's not why I'm being negative. I'm being negative about the fact that I have to see one more year of Ten Hag. I didn't talk about the financials and the financial approach as being a negative. I am explaining what I think might be the approach when it comes to financials. I'm not disappointed that we're putting people on lower wages. I'm not disappointed that we're trying to lowball. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm disappointed at the fact that I have to see one more footballing season.
Yeah, but we weren't talking about Ten Hag. We were talking about the transfer bidding, and I would say you didn't seem
exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. I think
you didn't seem particularly happy that we were trying to lowball.
Well, I wouldn't be happy if I think I'm broke. Why would I be happy if I'm saying I think we're broke? That has nothing to do with Ten Hag.
There's no evidence that we're broke.
There is no evidence, but I'm saying it's a theory. I think we are. I don't know if we are, but I think we are.
Yeah. I think we'll spend. I think we'll spend in and around 200 million this summer.
If we go and spend 200 to 300 million, then I'm like, you know what? My theory was wrong. We actually had the money, but maybe they used it as a way to manipulate other clubs to thinking we don't have money, so they don't get greedy with us and offer and demand us to pay these ridiculous fees for these players. Then I'm like, you know what? Fair enough. They went about smart about it. But until then, I don't know. So I'm gonna go with my gut feeling. My gut feeling says maybe we are broke. That's what I think.
The thing is, it's the window's just open. So as much as 35 mil for Branthwaite is way below what they're asking for. You're in no rush. Do you know what I mean? Like to go and start splashing.
Of course, 100%.
Anyway.
100%.
Will you apologize, Terry, if you don't spend? I will apologize if somebody puts their money where their mouth is and sets me a limit as to what they think they will spend. So if somebody's not prepared to go, I think we'll spend no more than 80 million. I ain't going to apologize. I need people to be. I need some. Let's say that Staffy, this is you in the comment section. You're saying we're broke, so you put some specificity down and tell us how much you think we'll spend because we're broke. I'll tell you how much I think we'll spend. If you're right, I'll donate some money to charity. If we spend more than that, you donate some money to charity. But you've got to be specific. You can't just say you're broke and then move the goalpost later. So, and I'm going to. I don't know what you think broke is. I want some specificity.
60 million plus sales, he said. 60 million plus sales.
But so plus sales, what does that mean? That doesn't
I
even
think
make sense.
60 million before sales, and then so if you sell players,
So you think we're only going to spend 60 million net? Is what you're saying? Not that net spend is real. So you think we're only going to spend 60 million net? I think we'll spend more than that. So that's the bet. I think we'll spend more than 60 million. And not that net spend's real, but we'll use it for this betting case because it'll be easier for this guy. I think we'll spend that's $60 million. So you're saying, what's that in pounds? Just so we know.
So I just realized $6 million. Yeah.
So $60 million. So you think we're going to spend no more than 47 million pounds? We'll go with 47 million pounds.
You've
Done.
just bid 35 mil for Branthwaite.
Yeah, and the same guy laughed when I said we might get 50 million for Greenwood. And by the way, Greenwood wouldn't count it to the next year, so we'll see. 47 million, he says. At least he's put his money where his mouth is. Majority of United fans have to be delusional to think Ten Hag is the main problem. They are slowly mirroring Chelsea fans. Sign a good scoring left winger and maybe a De Jong left back and centre back. I think talked about Arsenal earlier. I hear you on that. Arsenal went through a run of 1 win in 7. They could have used a top striker. A lot of their goals came from a purple patch against mid to bottom clubs.
Wait. Can I answer this? Because I heard this yesterday. I forgot who I heard an Arsenal content creator said that. I couldn't remember who. Someone who features on the terrace. They said, Giuseppe, yeah, on the top 6. There you go. I knew I watched something. Giuseppe said that on the top 6. How many times have we seen City in the last few years put 4, 5, 6 past teams? And we're like, wow, look how brilliant they are. But then Arsenal do it, and someone said it's a purple patch. Why? You think, by that logic, if you think, well, not you, Terry, but Giuseppe for saying that. If he thinks it's only a purple patch, which is why they scored 90-something goals, and I think they only had 5 less than City, then it means he probably thinks that City win every game by like a 3-game goal margin. Because in his logic, City never go through purple patches where they put 5, 6 past teams. I could swear there was a patch, I think it was in January, where City went 4 games in a row, winning 1-0 every game. And we all start sitting here and questioning how good is this City team? Because they're kind of struggling. We haven't seen City just barely win 1-0s every game until Haaland exploded in that one game. No, but remember when Haaland scored that 4 goals or 5 goals versus Luton in the FA Cup, something like that. Right before that, they went about 4 games in a row where they were only winning 1-0, and everyone was starting to question how good they are because they're not scoring as much as they used to. So for Giuseppe to say that, or any Arsenal fan to say that they've only had a purple patch and it doesn't count, City do the same thing. Because by that logic, you would think that City win every game by a 2-3 goal margin, which is not true.
I completely hear you. Do you know, I think it is with Giuseppe in his own club. I think it's more the fear that it dries up, the fear that they can't do it again. Does that make sense? I think it's more of a, what if we don't score the set pieces? What if we don't go on a run where we score those kind of goals again? And you might find next year with Arsenal, you score similar amounts to last season, but instead of it being in a big flurry in the second half of the season, you might find that you score more goals in the first half of the campaign this year, by say 15, 20 goals, and then you score slightly less in the second half, but the points total is high. I think goals
that happens every season, Terry. Let me tell you this. Sorry to cut you. This happens
That's
every season. The first season, Arsenal were scoring a lot more goals from other players. Odegaard, the season that just ended, he had less goals than the first season. When I say the first season, I mean the season, because they only competed for 2 seasons. So his goals dried out. Martinelli's goals dried out. They lost Xhaka's GA, which he had like 14 GA. But then they start getting goals from other places. Jesus' goals went down, but then Havertz picked up some goals. The midfield picked up some goals. Even Gabriel had like 4 or 5 goals in the season, which is a lot for a center-back. 4 goals a season, that was a lot. So they start adding goals from other way. You don't go every season and get the same amount of goals from the same players. You could get the same amount of goals from around it. I remember the season we won the league in 2013. I don't know if you remember that, Terry. Evra used to score so many headers off corners. And I've never seen Evra used to be that good on set pieces. That season alone, Evra had I don't remember how many goals. And I'm like, I've never seen us get these goals. The season before, we lost the league because of goal difference. Then the season after, obviously we got goals from Van Persie, but we started getting goals from other areas. the season doesn't really replicate itself. Next season, Martinelli could actually go back to scoring 16, 17 goals a season, or you might replace him and someone as these goals. So it's never the same players that are going to replicate it again, and then you just add more goals from anywhere else. It always fluctuates every season.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I do agree with that. This here says speaks levels. If you think Solanke is good enough, Lawless, you hate us. Of course, you want us to sign a West Ham level striker.
Do you know what? Arsenal fans, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them are the most precious, sensitive, just bunch of fans you'll ever see. Like, I didn't even diss Arsenal. I didn't say anything negative about. I gave my opinion on what I think that they could do, and I didn't diss them, but think what you want to think, innit?
They're a little bit.
This here says, love you till I'll bet you £20 that Man United only spend 120 million on 3 players and keep a couple of players you want to get rid of. See, but this is what I would say to that. That's cool. When you say spend, you just mean in totality we only spend 120 million. And if so, are we saying that's a lot or not a lot? I need to I'm asking a genuine question, because spending 120 million isn't that broke, but it maybe is on the low side. So again, I think we'll spend more than 120 million pound this summer. So I'll take that bet. I think we'll spend more than 120 million pound to get net, just totality. We'll spend more than 120 million.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because if 120 million, if you get 50 million for Greenwood, get money for Casemiro, if you do sell Wan-Bissaka, who's linked to a move away, if you start selling players and you only spend 100, that's low. But if you send 120 million, then player sales on top of that, then that's a good figure.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I'll take that bet. Staffy, stop being condescending in your response to the super chatters and have some emotional intelligence. Let me explain why your Tuchel point is wrong. He then goes on to say, Tuchel is a case of wrong man at the right place at the right time. PSG, he had the Galacticos 2.0. Chelsea joined January 22nd and fluked the Champions League win and then bottled it after. Bayern Munich joined in March 2023 and bottled after. Do you need more schooling?
This is the worst school I've ever went to. Let me tell you, I went to schools around 2 different nations, 2 different continents. This is the worst school I've ever went to, because you just listed stuff that explains nothing. What are you trying to explain by this? Send one more super chat and maybe I'll respond to you.
To be fair, like Tuchel has gone a season at Bayern without winning a single trophy.
This guy said he fluked the UEFA Champions League, but he wouldn't tell you that Ten Hag fluked the FA Cup. But that's the school he went me to. He sent me to, bro. Thank you, bro.
Thanks for the 20 SGD, whatever that is.
Thank you, my bro. People joke about Ten Hag, but 2 trophies in 2 seasons is no joke. I would have loved to have won one of those at my club, is what Mr. Tybox says. He's a gooner. Both can be true. The candidates cannot be good enough, and you also refuse to join a circus club. So listen, I'm totally open to that as well. I think for me, what I haven't liked around the discourse with Man United in this last couple of days, everybody is so polarized and hyperbole, and it's definitely this one thing and very closed-minded to it being multiple things at once. We are a mess. That I'm not defending. It takes time to fix a mess, and in a mess, in a horrible environment, you don't always get the best staff. You don't always get the best people that come in and take over and do things. It takes us a little bit of time. I'm just being patient with it. No hard feelings. It's a little verbal exchange. Staffy might look miserable, but he's not. It's just how he comes across sometimes. That's Staffy for you,
bro. Singapore dollar apparently that is as well. So shout out to large love to Singapore.
Chelsea, because I want to get into the Euro stuff before the end, but just very quickly on Chelsea. It looks as though Olise is very close. How good a signing is that going to be for them, boys?
Yeah.
Again, talk about that.
No, but again, it's a very, very good signing. It all just comes down to what we've spoke about on the show week after week, is the fit, the need. Is there the need, and where does he play? How is he going to fit into the system with, the likes of Cole Palmer, and obviously they've got Madwake and all these other players. So that's going to be the interesting thing in how much they spend on him. I still think that Man United would be the better move for him, but you don't seem to really be pursuing him like that, you know. So seem to be more focused on Branthwaite right now. But yeah, overall, I think he's a quality player, and if they can make it work, make the system work, I think he'll be a great signing for them and should hit the ground running. Hopefully, them little bumps that he's had, them little injury concerns, are just, you know, in the past, and he can get some game time. But yeah, I think it's a good signing, man, for sure. Again, depending on the price. What's the release was like 60 million, in it?
Yeah, 60 million. That was meant to be just for Champions League clubs, but it's been very well reported that Chelsea could get him for the same as well. So that's not too much of an issue. He's keen to join. They've asked for permission. They seem to be the most advanced of everybody, if that makes sense at the moment. There's talk that Man United will make an approach as well. Newcastle were looking at it, but yeah, it does. I mean, one report that came out today is that Chelsea feel really confident that they're going to get this done. How do you fancy United's chances in this race, Steph?
No chance. He's going to Chelsea. We're not going to sign him. I don't know if they need to sign him, but they will sign him. Chelsea had this, you know what? It's been a while since I dissed Chelsea, so let's diss Chelsea a little bit. These guys, bro, they just want to sign anything that's fancy out there, anything that's shiny, anything that's new, anything that gets them excited, you know. Do they need it? It doesn't matter. Does it fit what they need? Who cares? Was it in their agenda? Was it in their, you know, in their plans? All that's out the window. They just want to sign anything that's out and available there. They wanted Olise last summer. Obviously, that didn't work out. He renewed his contract with Palace. Obviously, sounds like he had a gentleman's agreement that they'll sell him in a year. This way, they get a little bit more money, and this way, you know, they got one additional year from him, and he still got paid like $100K a week last season. So it worked out for everyone, and they said, we'll sell you again. Funny enough, Chelsea went and got Cole Palmer. Worked out very well, and then they want to get him again, Olise. Why? I don't know. You already got the replacement, and the replacement worked, but you still want to go and get him again. Do they need him? No, they don't need him. Is he a good player, and would he benefit them? Probably, but they don't need to sign him. Everyone's like, oh, Cole Palmer plays in the 10. Okay, well, Cole Palmer is a winger that drifts in the middle of the park, can operate as a 10, but he's played his best football playing the same way that Olise plays football, which is picking up the ball from the right and driving into the middle of the park. So I don't understand why they want to go get him. This is not saltiness. This is nothing. You guys can go and sign it, but we've seen you guys sign so many players that you don't need. It's been a couple years now, and there's some players that we still have massive question marks over. We still have question marks over Mudryk. You paid 100 million for Mudryk. What does that do to Mudryk? Nkunku, okay, he's been injured, but everyone said wait until he's healthy. Now they want to put Cole Palmer in the 10. So what does that do to Nkunku? Oh, we'll push him to the left wing. Hold on a minute. When you signed him, he was playing in the 10. He was playing down the middle. He was not playing on the wing. He could play on the wing, but he doesn't play down the wing. Like, that's not his main position. They all told you, and this is why you don't trust most of these Chelsea fans. And I have a lot of friends that are Chelsea fans. So I'm not dissing them. I'm dissing the delusional ones. They said, oh, wait until we have Nkunku next year. We're going to have Nkunku in the 10. We'll have Palmer play off him on the wing. Now they want Palmer in the middle because they want to put Olise on the wing. So why did you tell me wait until Nkunku's back? Because you put him in the 10. They just have this weird obsession with just signing new players every season for no reason. Like, fair enough. It's fun. It's fun. Everyone loves a signing. Everyone loves a new signing. But they just sign a lot of players that they don't need. You are yet to know, like, how good some of your players are. As I mentioned, Mudryk, Nkunku, there's others to mention. Why are you going to add another one when you still haven't even figured out how, excuse me, how this current team plays? Because you've suffered from injuries. You've suffered from a lack of rotation from this manager. So why would you go another year wasting money on a position that you don't need? I don't think you need to prioritize that. I think you need to prioritize a striker and you need to prioritize a goalkeeper. Because if Olise costs 60 million as an example, 60 million can get you a Mike Maignan in goal. Would you rather have an Olise or Mike Maignan? Mike Maignan significantly improves this team because they don't have a good goalkeeper. 60 million. Okay, I don't think there's any standout strikers this season, but you can go get a striker for 60 million and you don't have to worry about Nico Jackson missing all these chances in front of goal again. And you can actually use Nico Jackson as a utility player throughout your front line. So why are you going to get Olise? There's no explanation other than, yeah, I just want a shiny new toy. Hold that. And that's what all they're gonna do. They're gonna just go troll Arsenal fans. Ha ha ha. Hold that. We signed this. We signed that. But football-wise, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. They'll never tell you.
Do you know one where I think it can make sense to defend Chelsea a little here?
Of course you will.
And that's not bad. Of course I will. I want to throw this out there. There's talk that they'll let Madueke go. And I think that would end that season-long debate we started having when people were talking about him being one of the best one-on-one wingers in the league. I think it would show that he ain't good enough. I don't think Mykhailo Mudryk has turned out to be good enough. When I watched him play a number of times, because we had that Champions League season where we were sponsored by Tots, and we had to cover a lot more of the Champions League than I've ever covered before. And I watched him play a number of times. I thought, wow, there's a player in there. Just hasn't translated and gone to the next level, and that happens to young players at times. Both of them two could be gone. So if you suddenly got rid of Mykhailo Mudryk and you got rid of Madueke right now, then you sort of have your front players as Nkunku, Palmer, Olise. They're all then going to get game time. Where I do get where you're coming from, so I'm playing devil's advocate here. Where I do get where you're coming from is if both those guys stay, then it becomes a really sort of who plays. The one thing I would say is, well, what you hear about Enzo Maresca is that he loves wide players more than central players. So he loves playing with width. So it's going to be an interesting one. I agree with you. I think Chelsea will get him. I just don't see any, but Chelsea always seem to land the players in these circumstances. But I'm very intrigued. Do you get where Staffy's coming from, Lawless, or do you think he's being maybe a little bit harsh on Chelsea?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I do get it, because that seems to be the way Chelsea have operated under Bowley. Do you know what I mean? It seems to be like, oh, let's just get the flavor of the month type of player. You know what I mean? The player that everyone's raving about. I'm not saying he's not good, but it's just like I don't get what the plan is that they have. Do you know what I mean? I don't get it. It seems to be like, okay, this is a highly rated player that we can go and splash money on and everyone will be hyped. Like, I want to see what the plan is, what their project is, and I'm not seeing
there
that.
is none. There is none. That's what I'm trying to say. There is none. They always sign someone who's available. We need something, and we sign something else. Okay? I'm having chicken for dinner. Oh, let me get steak sauce because it's available. I don't need steak sauce. I'm eating chicken. Why am I getting that? This is what they do every time, bro. This is why they send all these players. That's why 2 seasons ago, they had a squad over 30.
Do you know why I'm laughing? Because the other day I was seasoning my chicken. I used some steak seasoning on it. It was quite nice. I was looking at what I had in the cupboard. Oh, I just try a bit of that. It was all right. But no, sorry, back to you. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes you do get desperate, and whatever's in front of you, you might have
someone
to
do this the other day. I saw somebody put mayonnaise inside a hamburger.
We do that here.
Really?
But it can't be just mayonnaise, so it has to be like mayonnaise and ketchup.
No, yeah, because you mix it together. This was like they put mayonnaise in and closed it and ate it, and I was shocked.
Yeah, you should have called the cops. Yeah, you should have called.
Yeah, red meat and mayonnaise. I don't even know how it tastes nice. Anyway, back to you, my friend. Sorry.
I forgot what we were saying because we were talking about this season and stuff. Oh yeah. No, I'm just saying I don't like the idea that they approach whoever's available. I don't think it's a sustainable way. You'll end up with a massive squad again. You're going to end up with a lot of players that don't have an identity in this team, that don't have a position in this team, that don't have a role in this team. They're going to be sitting there and collecting wages. And don't forget, you have a lot of players that are on death row contracts that are there for, well, now it's 7 years because since you put them on the 8-year contract, now they still have 7 years left or 6.5. So some of these players are going to be here for a while and you still don't have answers for them. Sterling is still going to be here, by the way. You didn't mention him.
United, isn't it? Really? It's all about the marquee signing. It's all about, do you know what I mean? No,
United were stupid in a different way. United used to go, so we need this position, but let me go sign just a flashy name rather than a profile. Whereas Chelsea, I see Surfer in the chat saying we don't do that. I'm sorry, Surfer. When I look at the evidence of the last 2 years, you have proved to me under that first year under Bowley, I should say, that you had a squad over 30-something players. You didn't have enough seats in your locker room for some of these players to be in there. Some of these players were changing in the corridor outside. So it is proven, Surfer. I'm not making up stuff over here. Yes, maybe your squad has slimmed since, but when you look at the approaches that you have, Surfer, I'm not going to lie. I sat there and I listened to every Chelsea content creator on what they need. They all talked about needing a striker. They all talked about needing a new left back, and they all talked about needing a new goalkeeper. I did not hear one person saying we need a new winger, because they have so many that eventually one of them has to get sold, because not all of them are good enough. But no one has said anything about, oh, we need to get another right winger, because you got Cole Palmer there. You just want to move Palmer to the 10 because you just want to see on your team sheet, oh, look, I have a Palmer and I have an Olise that looks so nice. The way they play football, anyways, they both play the same way. Like, they're literally the same player with obviously some changes, but they're the same player. They occupy the same spaces. They're not. I don't know how well they're going to play off each other. If anything, if I have a 10, I probably want to give him a winger who stretches the pitch a little bit. Olise does the same thing that Palmer does, which they both pick up the ball. They're both skills. They like to drive towards the middle of the park. So you're getting two players that like to do the same thing. So how are they going to coexist? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you needed that. You just wanted it. Wants and
If they
needs are
get him
different.
and address the other areas, though, you can objectively look at it and say, yeah, fair play, great window. You've got some depth there of quality players, and you've addressed your other issues. It depends how much money they got.
Sure, I mean, and in hindsight, yeah, when you say it like that. But here's the thing. I'll tell you this, Laws. If they went inside a striker, a goalkeeper, and a left back, and then for some reason at the end of the transfer market, all of a sudden Lisa became available, and someone just went and clinched him and ended up being Chelsea, I'd be like, you know what? We got everything that you needed, and you just got a luxury signing over it, I should say. Because he would be their best winger, assuming that Palmer plays in the 10. But I already explained the issues it creates. I just don't like the idea that now they're going to shift Nkunku to the left. Nkunku was never signed to play in the left. And they're going to just do it to accommodate for them wanting a new signing. So go ahead and do it. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it at all.
By the way, for anyone that cares, Brighton have signed a new manager who's 31 years old.
I know, never heard of Geezer. Never heard of Geezer.
Where's he
31
from?
years old.
He's from America, but he spent most of his life in Germany.
Oh, there we go. We're on the rise. We're taking over.
This is going to be the guy that Happy wants next season. This is going to be what's
no. Let me tell you this. I do not like American football. Well, not American football, soccer technically, because American football would mean NFL. I do not support them. Every time the U.S. men's national team plays, I want them to lose. I supported Brazil.
He's got a German name though, so he's probably got some German in him. So
yeah, I actually kind of want to hear him speak, because I've got a feeling he's going to sound more German than I don't know who he is, but he just do you know what's really funny? We used to have a great TV show in England called Soccer AM. It used to be amazing.
Didn't it get cancelled like 2 years ago?
It got cancelled, and it's just because they went in the wrong direction. But they used to, when Bob Bradley became the Aston Villa manager, they had this whole section that was like based on Bob Bradley, and it was hilarious. They like over-egged the Americanization of the game and things like that. And it was again, you probably couldn't, that was only probably about 10, 12 years ago, that skit that they used to do. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. And this here says, okay, for reference, I mean, 120 million is low, but not, I think you can shift your big wage players like us. Arsenal had so you won't be able to spend as much. I want to give you an idea. Man United's wage bill, I just did the maths while the boys were talking. And we've still got Casemiro and Sancho to leave, which is another £500,000 a week. So you're looking at potentially another £26 million. We've already reduced it by £59 million a year from 200. That's without those. That's with just and plus there could be a couple more people leave if Ericsson goes, which is on the cards. That's 150,000. You've got Donny van der Beek on 120,000. We could get nearly £1 million off this. We could get another £52 million off. You're talking about a reduction already from 228 million a year to 168 million already. Plus, there's probably still anywhere between 500 to £1 million a week more to come off that on players we all know are going to go. So when people say we're broke and we're knocking over 100 million off our wage bill, I'm not worried, because the maths don't math. Just because we're spending less doesn't mean we're broke. We need to spend less. I've been asking for it for a decade. It's good things. Quickly, boys, before the end, I want to ask you some kind of quick fire questions when it comes to the Euros. First question, I've got Dan first on this. Who's going to be the breakthrough player, the star boy of the Euros?
Listen, let me inject a little bit of bias. Let me give you a bit of
here we
bias. I
go.
know this free. Listen,
Here we go.
Jarrad Bowen, man. I think he's going to arrive on the grand stage. I know he's not going in as first choice in his position, but I think when he gets his opportunity, he will take it and he will announce himself on the big stage at the Euros, man. Listen, I've seen him do it an improved season in a West Ham shirt. I think he's going to have he would have got his first England goal if it hadn't been for great defending from our own player, Konsa, off the line. So, yeah, man, I'm back.
I'm going to say this to the viewers. When I say star boy breakthrough player, there's got to be someone who it's their first international tournament. So you can't say Mbappe. You can't say Saka. It's not their first international tournament. Who would you go with, Staffy, for your breakthrough stroke star boy?
Definitely not a 28, 29-year-old striker from West Ham. Yeah, that's not what breaking through is. This guy's a senior at this point. You know,
you break through if you're new to international football. Do you know what I mean? If you ain't got that, you can break through still. Do you know what I mean?
Loss, he's not breaking through nothing, bro. He'll be breaking that bench. That's
he's like a 40-year-old virgin.
Yeah, bro. Listen, I'm sorry. We're not that uncle can sit on the side right now. We're looking at the younger players. We're looking at the Verts. We're looking at the Lamine Yamals. We're looking at who else from the young kids. I mean,
I think João Neves,
Javi Simmons, Javi Simmons. There's a lot of prospects that are going to have a big role. I didn't want to say Menu because I don't think he'll get a lot of minutes. But if he was a guaranteed starter, I definitely would say his name. You know, even Højlund will be a good watch because international football is completely different than club football, and I think he plays for this. Don't do that, Terry. I'm just saying it might be a good one. It might be.
No, I agree with you.
It might be a good one. Arda Güler as well. Arda Güler from Turkey.
Top goal scorer, Lawless.
Bowen,
top goal scorer, man. That's a tough one. Well, yeah, I think Mbappe. It could be Mbappe or Kane. Kane takes the penalties. He gets penalties because he likes to dive. So it could be one of them. I mean, I still put it down that Kane is one of the worst Golden Boot winners I've ever seen at a tournament because of the penalties and the teams that he done it against. But yeah, one of them just on the spot. I'll go with Mbappe. Kane's had his time.
What about yourself, Steph?
Definitely Mbappe. I see France going to the final, and obviously that works in your favor. The more games you play, the more goals you score, and I think Mbappe will be in the final with France. So I'm gonna go for Mbappe.
I actually agree that with Mbappe as a choice, but there's someone. If I'm gonna stick £5, a little bet on Kai Havertz, just in the German team. Germany, you don't write the Germans off. I was going to throw a bit of money on there. Not because I think he'll do it. It's worth the odds. Player of the tournament, standout star of the tournament, Staffy.
Well, here's how it is. Usually the winner has the player of the tournament. And this is a sticky one because I must save you're probably going to ask me who I think is going to win the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't spoil it yet. I think it's going to be between Mbappe. If England somehow make the final, which I highly doubt, Bellingham will 100% be it. But I have a funny feeling about that.
Yeah, obviously, if I think Mbappe is going to be top goal scorer, I think he's going to be massively influential. He's not just one of these players that just bangs in goals and doesn't do anything else on the pitch either. So yeah, it's boring, and I wish I had a more exciting answer, a more
legit tax as well. Legit tax.
My player of the tournament links into the final question, which is winning it. My player of the tournament I'm going for is Bruno Fernandes.
Wow.
Because one, I would love it just for people like Staffy to have to watch him get the accolades because it'd be hilarious.
Why me? Why you always target me? What did I do?
Because you're on the show. Because you're one of the negative people about someone like Bruno, but you're one of the nice ones. Like you're not nasty with it. That's what I mean.
I say he's not my cup of tea, but I praise him for what he's good at.
No, that's what I mean. You don't like him, but you're not nasty about it. That's what I said. But I think Bruno Fernandes, if you've watched him for Portugal in the last 9 months, he's looked sensational. Looked brilliant again in the friendlies. I think he's going to score and assist a lot of goals at this tournament. And I'm going with Portugal to win the overall thing. And I think Bruno Fernandes will be the player of the tournament with Portugal lifting the trophy.
I agree with you on one thing. I think Portugal will win it. Yeah, I think the final will somehow be Portugal France. I didn't even check how the bracket looks like, but I think it would be Portugal and France in the final. And I think
They
Portugal
can't. They
will
can't.
win.
That is a
Can
very
they?
likely. Yeah. We did it yesterday.
I think Portugal has the best squad. And when I say squad, it speaks about the balance all over the pitch. So you don't necessarily need to have the best player like Mbappe. When you look at the squad that Portugal has, I think Portugal is stacked everywhere. They have great fullbacks,
Yeah.
they have great center backs, they have a good goalkeeper, their midfield is stacked. Their front line is a little bit dodgy. That's the only thing because I think Ronaldo is not as good as people.
Well, it's interesting with Ronaldo though, because I mean he looked good in the friendly the other night. Part of me also wants Portugal to win it. If I take of course I want England to win first, but if England don't win it, part of me wants Portugal to, just because then it sets the whole Messi Ronaldo debate off again. Well, he's won 2 Euros, and like I just want to watch that from afar. I won't even get involved in it. I just want to.
But I do think Bruno's going to be their best player, by the way.
You do?
Like, I do think that. Yeah, I just don't think he will be the best player in the tournament, but he will be.
Right. I get you. Who are you going to win it, Lawless?
Yeah, I think France are most likely. I think if England are ever gonna win something, it's now or never with the team that they've got. And yeah, if they do, Foden, I think is the main man. But yeah, France now have all the tools. Yeah, I think Foden. Yeah, Foden's gonna be like if I know Bellingham. You're saying Bellingham, but
this ain't City, brother. This ain't City, bro. He doesn't play the same way for England that he does for City.
Yeah, but
you don't even know his best position on the pitch. I like Foden, but he not for England. Sorry, not remotely close. He will not be. Their best players will be somewhere between Saka, Kane, and Bellingham.
Well, it's going to be amazing. We are live tonight after Germany versus Scotland, the opening game. So make sure you're tuning into the Football Terrace. KJ and Dre and the boys are at the game tonight. So we're going to get some footage over from them as well and show it to you all. I'm actually jealous I'm not out there for a couple of weeks, but it's going to be great fun. Staffy, Dan, always a pleasure, boys, to speak football with you. To all of our super chatters, you're amazing. To our subscribers, you're the best. To everyone who tuned in, thank you. Until next, this video, by the way, is going to take you through to Staffy's channel. So make sure you get yourselves across to it. Until next time, take care, goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again soon. Peace.